Hello, my name is James Perry. I'm a helicopter pilot and instructor based in the North London in the UK. If you haven't been watching before, I've been making videos on the 7 steps to become a professional helicopter pilot. And today we're going to focus on step 2, the aviation medical. In the video, we're going to be talking about what it is, why we need it, and how we go about getting it, including all the online admin that is required. The first thing we need to know is that this medical is a part of your license. So when you get your license, be it a PPL, a CPL or an ATPL, that in itself does not expire. What does expire is your ratings, which are the individual aircraft on your license, and your medical. And you might hear the word current bounce around. I am current. And what that means, broadly speaking, is that I have a valid rating and medical. A medical can come in multiple classes, so I've mentioned class 1 and class 2 on the board there. There is also 3 and LAPL and these self-declarations, but I'm not going to go into any of that. We're going to focus on class 1 and 2. Class 1 is the highest grade of medical, and it is the one that's used for commercial flying. And a class 2 can be used for private flying and instruction. So, to someone who has a dream, like I did, of becoming a commercial pilot, I think it's a very good step, and the reason it is step 2 is to go and have the medical to make sure that you are medically fit before you make all of that investment in yourself. There can be things that catch you out, like colour blindness. There are 3 places in the UK where you can do an initial class 1 medical. That's what you need to do, an initial. There is one at Heathrow Medical. It cost £660 and they had a waiting time of about 2 weeks, and I found that was about the best one out there. I did mine at a place called Centreline Medical in London. It was the same price, but they had a 3.5-month waiting time when I just went to have a look. There is also a place in Birmingham that does it, but that one is £720. For your class 2, for those who are interested just in the private pilot's license and getting the class 2 initial, you can get those in many places. A lot of doctors, or AMEs, aero medical examiners, there are far too many acronyms in aviation. You just go to one of those, ask if they can do an initial class 2 medical, and I'll put a link so you can find an AME in the description of my video. So back to the class 1. What do they test? Well, there's a whole barrage of tests relating to your medical history, your eyesight, your hearing, your heart with an ECG, your bloods, your urines, your reflexes, alcohol tests, lung capacity, mental state. I was at my medical for 6 hours and I must have been seen by 4 to 5 or more doctors. It's a bit of a blur, to be honest. How do you prepare for your class 1 then? Well, do you remember we mentioned fit to fly in the last video and the I'm Safer acronym? Apply it to this. Have some clean living for 3 days, no drinking, get lots of fresh air. Make sure you feel fit and healthy before you go for your medical. In terms of the standards that they actually look for in the medical, this is an incredibly long list, and I'm not a doctor, so I cannot interpret this for you. I can't also answer the barrage of varied questions that there would be. They are the only ones qualified to tell you whether you are fit to fly or not. However, I will mention some points that it's good to know at this point. If you have any history of mental illness or mental health concerns in your history, this will provide a big problem and could really impede or even prevent the issue of a class 1. It will almost certainly require lengthy further investigation. You do not have to have perfect vision. I always have people ask, pilots, they have to have perfect eyes. You do not have to have perfect vision, but it is worth visiting an optician before you go for your medical, having a general eye test and a colour blindness test, and taking that report and any glasses you have with you to your medical. If you are generally healthy, fit and well, this test is not a problem. They're not looking to catch you out. They're just looking to make sure you're safe. if you do have a physical problem, don't worry too much. It may not stop you from being issued with a medical. For example, non-insulin dependent diabetes patients who can demonstrate that they can stably control their blood sugar levels may be issued with a Class 1 certificate. Again, the disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I can't answer all your questions about different ailments and what would qualify and what would not. If you do have any concerns, have a look down in the description for that AME search. Go into there, find your local AME, book an appointment with them, and discuss any concerns you have with them before you go for your initial Class 1. Right, moving on to the really fun bit, let's look at the screen capture of how we actually sign up to the CAA portal. Okay guys, so we need to set up our UK CAA portal account. Just bear with me. Follow the link in my description for the UK CAA portal to get to this screen I'm on. Press create, choose a username and password and an email, all the normal stuff. Then press create account. The system will take you to a screen that tells you to confirm your email, yada yada, you know, all the normal stuff. It should come immediately. Click on the link inside that email. You now have a username, password and access to the portal. You will control many aspects of your license from here, so you will get very familiar with this space. But for now, please just press your services, press medical, and then press confirm. Feel free to read the disclaimer about data protection. You don't have a CAA reference number yet, so don't worry. The rest is very self-explanatory, normal form stuff. You then need to upload a passport or a driver's license as a proof of identity and add a proof of address as well. I used a bank statement. As a first-time applicant, it's unlikely you have a CAA document, and as long as you have a proof of address, it's not required. Click submit. It took approximately 3 working days for the application to get approved. Of course, working days being the operative term, weekends are not included in that, so it might take a bit longer. You will get an email when it's ready, and attached to the email is a guide about the SELMA form we're about to talk about, so feel free to have a look through that as well. Come back to the portal, log in. You'll find actually that you have a CAA reference number now, which is cool because this is your pilot number. In the future, we'll be signing many tech logs and aircraft registers and the like with this number. Very interesting. Your services, medical again, however it's in the top box now. Just go through the security. Now you'll need to choose your class. Remember we said 1 for commercial and 2 for private. You now have a medical form to complete. It has lots of handy hints like this one seen here about state of license issue. Feel free to click these if you're not sure about any of the boxes. It is of course an initial you are applying for. You are also applying for a private license to begin with and a rotary. That's important to note. We get the private before we get the commercial. After you have finished the form, adding any relevant comments at the end, and you pay the CAA fee, which was £14 on my last application, you are now ready to book your medical. And I will show the Class 2 chaps and gals where to find an AME. Hello again, thank you for bearing with me through all of that screen capture and admin work. However, it is very helpful to know how these things work. I was certainly confused by it the first time. Okay, now we're just going to hit some good to knows, things I wish I had known. So, as you can tell from what I've been talking about, these waiting times for appointments and, waiting to be approved for the online portals, it's good to get on this sooner rather than later. You actually can't do any solo flight work, which we'll talk about in the PPL video, until you have a medical. So I would recommend getting on this sooner rather than later. For clarity, it's important to note that when you go for a Class 1, you get all the lower grades as well. So you automatically get a Class 2 with your Class 1 medical. Why is this important? Well, if you're not actually flying commercially, it's cheaper to maintain a Class 2 medical. And so when your Class 1 expires, you automatically drop down to a Class 2 and it has a longer validity range. So you can save money over the long term. You only have to do the initial once. Past this point, it becomes revalidations and renewals, unless you let it lapse for a long time. But I'm not going to go too far into that in this video. One last thing to mention is, unfortunately, at this time, single pilot commercial air transport flights, which are including fare paying passengers, are capped at the age of 60. And for multi-crew operations of the same nature, it is a cap at 65. Whether this will change in time, I cannot tell. But at the time of making this video, this information is correct. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it informative. Please like and subscribe. And it really helps me get the content out there and help more people understand the complex parts of getting into aviation. And please join me in the next video for step 3, which is the picking the helicopter and by extension, the school. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.